Excluded from my sister's wedding, I packed my bags and vanished. They said I was overreacting just like they always did when I finally stood up for myself. So while my family posed for pictures under fairy lights in Vail, I was over thousands of miles away on a quiet beach in California watching their perfect day crumble from afar. The same people who once silenced me were now begging me to come back and fix the mess they made. Funny how they only remember your worth when their world starts falling apart. I'm about to share something close to my heart. I love hearing how far my story can reach. It's always good to know I'm not alone in this. Thank you. And now let me tell you everything. If stories like this speak to you about family betrayal and finding peace again, please subscribe to our channel. It means more than you think. My name is Ethan Miller, and this is the story of how being excluded from a wedding set me free. I came home late that night to my small apartment in Fort Collins. The kind of silence that feels like it's waiting to deliver bad news. My phone buzzed again and again. The family group chat family wedding was alive with excitement. Hundreds of messages scrolled by flower arrangements, dress colors, playlists, seating charts. I read every one of them, and not once did I see my name. On Instagram, my sister Hannah had just posted her final guest list with a photo of neatly printed cards arranged in perfect symmetry. 180 seats. I swallowed hard. A few minutes later, her message popped up privately. Guest list finalized. Had to make some tough cuts. Hope you understand. Love you. Tough cuts. The phrase echoed like a punch. I was not a distant cousin or an old college friend. I was her brother. I called my mother immediately. She answered in her usual cheerful tone, the kind that made everything sound manageable. Hi, sweetheart. What is up? I skipped the small talk. Mom Hannah just texted me. She says I am not on the guest list. The pause on the line was short, but long enough to tell me everything. Then came her sigh, soft and dismissive. Oh, Ethan, it is just a wedding. Do not overreact. That phrase, do not overreact, has followed me my whole life. It is what she said when Dad left when Hannah lied when I was right. But it made the family uncomfortable. It was not new, but this time it cut deeper. I hung up before she could turn it into another lecture about family unity. I sat in the dark, replaying the words, tough cuts, overreacting, just a wedding. I thought of everything I had done for Hannah, shooting her professional photos for free when she could not afford them, paying off part of her student debt, helping her move twice, talking her through the heartbreak when Ryan dumped her years ago. Yes, the same Ryan she was now marrying. Apparently, none of it earned me a seat at Table 4 family. Something in me refused to believe it was just logistics. I opened my saved messages and scrolled back to a conversation from a month ago. A screenshot Hannah had accidentally shared in the family chat before deleting it. It was from a PR contact for Ryan's father's campaign. Need to review optics for guest list. Make sure it is clean. Avoid controversy. In the attached image, my name had been crossed out in red. No explanation, just not ideal for image. Everyone had pretended it never happened. I had pretended too until now. A knock on the door pulled me out of my thoughts. It was my neighbor holding a thick, cream-colored envelope. This was dropped in my mailbox by mistake. Same last name. Maybe for you I took it confused. Inside was a seating chart draft printed on heavy cardstock. And there it was, my name, clear and centered. Table 4 family. I stared at it for a long time. I had been invited once, and someone decided later that I did not fit the picture anymore. Minutes later, another email hit my inbox, an automated message from the Summit Ridge Lodge where the wedding would be held. I had not seen that name in weeks. Subject line payment method updated by Linda Miller. My credit card had been the one used to pay the initial deposit months ago when Hannah forgot her limit. Now it had been replaced by my mother's card. They had not just erased my name. They were systematically erasing my fingerprints from the whole thing. I sat back and laughed quietly. The bitter kind of laugh that leaves a taste of metal in your mouth. Not good enough for the pictures, I said to no one. Fine. I took a screenshot of Hannah's post, 1 in 80 smiling names, none of them mine, and opened a new tab for flights. 10 minutes later, I had booked a direct flight to the California coast, 7 days digital detox ocean view suite. I captioned my story before shutting the phone off, got cut from the family album, found a better backdrop. For the first time, I did not explain myself. My silence became my RSVP. I was not attending their perfect wedding. I was attending my own peace. Somewhere deep inside, I knew I was not just leaving Fort Collins. I was leaving behind the version of me that always cleaned up everyone else's mess. As I packed, I glanced again at that phrase, "do not overreact." This time, it made me smile. They would see what my overreaction looked like when I finally stopped pretending to belong. The morning air at Front Range International Airport was thin and sharp, the kind that stings your throat when you breathe. I wheeled my suitcase through security, removed my watch, my belt, my sense of obligation, one piece at a time. Freedom had never felt so procedural. My first-class ticket was not a splurge. It was a reward flight. The miles were points I had earned months ago when I paid the deposit for Hannah's venue before she erased me from her guest list. A quiet, poetic irony. I snapped a photo of my boarding pass, covered the name, and posted, "When one door shuts, take the gate." Within minutes, my cousin Jessica replied privately, "You did the right thing." I sent back a single period, our unspoken code for "I know." A few hours later, another message arrived. My mother, of course, do not be petty. I stared at the screen, then locked the phone and never replied. When the plane touched down in La Jolla, the air hit me like a warm exhale. Salt citrus and sunlight wrapped around me. Seabreeze Cove Resort greeted guests with chilled towels and a pink mocktail. The lobby smelled like coconut and wood polish. A man at the front desk, Daniel, according to his tag, handed me the key card with a grin. "Sometimes exclusion," he said, "is just an invitation to yourself." I did not know what to say. I only nodded, thinking he had just summarized my whole life. Later that afternoon, I sank into a lounge chair by the infinity pool. The ocean stretched endlessly blue, melting into blue. For once, my phone was not vibrating. Then it buzzed an email from a name I did not recognize. Campaign Media Liaison. The subject line read, "Confidential request regarding family privacy." Inside, a polite message. "Given the high-profile nature of the upcoming wedding, we would appreciate your cooperation in limiting posts that could be interpreted as commentary on private family matters. We would be happy to offer a small stipend $1,000 gift card as a token of appreciation." I read it twice, smiling in disbelief. They did not even bother hiding their fear. They knew I was excluded, and now they were trying to buy my silence so their image stayed clean. I marked the email as spam. My piece was not for sale. Around sunset, as I watched the sky turn coral and gold, another alert appeared, this time from my bank. Refund notice. Summit Ridge Lodge partial reimbursement. The amount was not large, but it was credited to my card, the same card I had used for the initial booking, which meant I was still tied financially to an event I had been erased from. I took a photo of the transaction and saved it, knowing someday it might matter. I thought about turning off my phone entirely, disappearing into the sound of waves and the hiss of salt on skin. But part of me could not let go of the need to know what would happen when the image cracked, when the optics failed. I made a silent rule I would not reach out first. I would only watch, read, never reply. The only exception was Jessica. She was the single thread connecting me to that collapsing world. The sun sank lower, a burnished coin slipping beneath the horizon. I asked the bartender to take a photo of me, a dark outline against the glowing sea. I posted it with the caption, "Not overreacting, just finally reacting for myself." The waves rolled in slow applause against the shore. Somewhere in Colorado, they were stringing up fairy lights and printing new seating charts. But here, in the humid quiet of La Jolla, I felt something I had not felt in years. Not anger, not guilt, just peace. And somewhere in the digital noise of the world, that peace was about to go viral. Mornings at Seabreeze Cove were warm and unhurried. I woke to the sound of waves brushing the shore sunlight, painting slow gold lines across the room. Breakfast arrived on a silver tray. Fluffy pancakes, fresh mango coffee strong enough to taste like resolve. I sat on the balcony with my laptop writing a short entry for the anonymous blog I had started the night before. The post was titled, "The Art of Silence." I wrote, "Healing is a sound, too. It just does not need a microphone." For years I had filled silence with fixing, with explanations, with endless apologies for things I did not break. Now I was learning how to let quiet speak for me. By noon I was waist-deep in the ocean, balancing on a paddleboard as the sun caught the film of my analog camera. The click of the shutter felt like therapy, one sound, one proof that I existed outside their world. For the first time in years, my shoulders did not ache. The constant tension that lived there, the one that came from waiting for the next family disaster to fix, was gone. But peace never lasts long when the people who broke you do not like silence. That evening, while I was drying off by the pool bar, my phone started buzzing. At first, I ignored it, assuming it was Jessica sending one of her late-night memes, but the screen was filled with notifications from Instagram. My photo, the silhouette against the La Jolla sunset, the caption, "Not overreacting, just finally reacting for myself," had exploded online. A travel influencer staying at the same resort had unknowingly caught me in the background of her post and tagged my handle. Within hours, the image had hit the Explore page. Messages started flooding in. "Bro, where even are you?" from my cousin Tyler. "Stop this nonsense online," from my mother. Hannah had seen the post, but did not reply. I stared at the messages, half amused, half exhausted. I had not said a single word about them yet. The story was already finding its way back. That photo had touched the one thing they valued more than truth image. When I returned to my room later that evening, a thick cream envelope was wedged under my door. No name, no handwriting. Inside was a folded invitation to the Vale wedding. No address, just the embossed initials HRC. Attached to it was a printed memo on PR letterhead Family Optics First. Remove outliers who do not fit the narrative. There was no signature. My stomach sank. Someone wanted me to know exactly why I had been erased. It was not about space or logistics. It was branding. I had been cropped out of their story for better lighting. I sat on the edge of the bed, flipping the card between my fingers. Who would send this? Someone from the hotel from the campaign. Maybe someone trying to buy my silence again. This time with guilt instead of money. They wanted me to feel small enough to stay out. For a moment, it almost worked. Then my phone rang. Jessica. Her voice was hushed. "Do not say anything, but there is a poll in the family group. Mom started it. They are asking if they should invite you last minute to avoid bad press." She laughed softly, bitterly. "It is literally 60-40 right now." I did not respond. There was nothing to say. I was not invisible. I was a damage control option. I walked out onto the balcony. The palm trees swayed in slow rhythm under the moonlight. "It is not about whether they give me a seat," I whispered to the night. "It is about how they define me like a prop they use when convenient." I opened the email from the PR rep again, the one offering me the $1,000 gift card to stay quiet. My thumb hovered over the forward button. For a second, I thought about saving it as proof, but then I deleted it. I did not want to carry that evidence. Some weights are not worth proving. A message blinked from Jessica again. "Groom's mom is cold. If anything goes wrong, they will blame our side." That line sat heavy in my chest. It explained everything why my mother was obsessed with perfection. Why she erased me instead of defending me. Our family was not preparing for a wedding. They were preparing for a public performance. terrified of losing control of the frame. I opened the camera on my phone, took a picture of the beach glimmering under moonlight, and typed a caption, "Peace tastes like saying no." I posted it, set my phone to do not disturb, but kept Jessica's contact unmuted. If the ground started shaking in Vale, I wanted to know, but not because I cared to save them. Just because for once I wanted to watch the storm from a safe distance. Saturday morning came bright and cloudless sunlight spilling through the blinds like a reminder that I had escaped. It was the wedding day. Somewhere in Vale, they were buttoning suits, adjusting veils, curating smiles for cameras. I stood barefoot on the balcony, coffee in hand, hearing my mother's voice replay in my head. It is just a wedding. Maybe she was right. It was just a wedding. But it had also become the border between who I used to be and who I was now. Out of curiosity, I opened my phone and searched the wedding hashtag. The feed was already flooding with glossy images, white snow, gold decor, champagne towers. Hannah looked radiant like every magazine bride. Ryan stood beside her perfectly tailored, his politician's son smile fixed in place. For a moment, I almost felt something like pride. She looked happy, or at least she knew how to fake it. Then a message request appeared from an anonymous account. Just one sentence. "You were right to stay away." I typed, "Who is this?" But the account vanished. No name, no trace. A chill ran through me, even in the California heat. I did not believe in omens, but something about that message felt like a crack in the glass. Small now, but spreading fast. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. "Jessica." I answered to chaos music, shouting clinking glasses and her voice cutting through it all. "It is insane here. Ryan just stormed out." I sat up straight. "What?" "He left," she said, "walked right out after your mom's speech." The whole thing exploded. My mind struggled to catch up. She told me that during my mother's toast, her tone had turned controlling. She thanked the groom's family for saving Hannah from her wild phase. Ryan took it as an insult, told her not to talk about his family like they were rescuers, and everything spiraled. Hannah yelled. Mom defended herself. The groom's parents joined in. Guests were recording. I felt my heart pounding, not in triumph, not even in shock, but in disbelief. I had predicted it all, yet it still felt surreal. Before I could respond, another call came through. "Mom." I did not answer. A text followed seconds later. "Your sister needs you. Please do not make this worse." The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. I was hundreds of miles away, yet somehow still responsible for cleaning up the disaster I was not invited to. Within hours, Vale gossip account started posting. Runaway groom Miller family meltdown at elite wedding. One post showed my mother mid-argument, finger pointed, her face twisted in panic. The caption read, "Family optics gone wrong." The phrase, "family optics," hit me harder than it should have. Those were the same words printed on the anonymous memo left under my hotel door. They had built their perfect frame, and now the glass had shattered. I scrolled through the comments. Some sympathized, some mocked, most speculated. None of them knew the truth that I was the ghost in every picture, the missing piece that made the whole thing look off balance. I thought I would feel satisfaction watching their perfect facade crumble. But all I felt was emptiness. The kind that hums in your chest when justice finally arrives and you realize it does not heal you. It just quiets the noise. The sky outside had turned to violet. I went down to the pool, ordered a drink, and sat staring at the ripples. The bartender turned on soft jazz. The world seemed oblivious to my family's implosion. My phone buzzed one last time. Jessica again. "They are all looking for you," she texted. "Even Hannah." I read it twice, then locked the screen. I leaned back and looked at the moon's reflection floating on the water. For once, I did not feel the urge to fix anything. Whatever was breaking in Vale was not mine to mend. I lifted my glass slightly toward the night and whispered to peace at any cost. Then I set the phone face down on the table and let the sound of the ocean drown out every call I did not take. The morning after the Vale wedding disaster, I woke to the familiar rhythm of waves outside my balcony, soft, steady, endless, and the unfamiliar vibration of my phone shaking violently on the nightstand. Dozens of notifications stacked across the screen. 35 missed calls, 15 voicemails. My stomach tightened before I even opened them. The storm had found me. The first voicemail was from Hannah. Her voice, rough from crying, carried a tone I had not heard since we were kids. "Please, Ethan, I cannot fix this. You always fix things." I let the words hang in the air. For the first time in years, she called me brother not with entitlement, but with desperation. I did not press replay. I did not need to hear it twice. The next voicemail was from my mother. Her tone was colder, calculated less heartbreak, more accusation. "I warned you," she began. "You could have prevented this. You always walk away when we need you." I let out a small, tired laugh. Even now, she did not mourn what was lost. She mourned the control she could not reclaim. I scrolled through the rest of the messages without pressing play. They all sounded the same in my head. Every word from her was a familiar song, one that always ended with me apologizing. Not this time. An unknown number flashed across the screen. I answered without thinking. "Mr. Miller, this is Horizon Bank Fraud Department. We noticed several refund attempts from Summit Ridge Event Hall under your account. Did you authorize them?" I froze. Refund attempts. Yes, multiple transactions all tied to the same booking. It seems someone updated the payment method but kept your card as secondary. My throat went dry. I thanked him and hung up. It did not take long to piece it together. My mother or Hannah had tried to reroute the expenses, most likely to make it appear that I was still financially involved. A perfect move if you wanted to blur responsibility when the press started asking questions. Not even 10 minutes later, a new email appeared. The sender, Patricia Collins, Ryan's mother. The subject line read, "Your absence made things worse." The message was brief, sharp, written like a press release. "I hope your family takes responsibility for the embarrassment. Ryan tried to make it work, but your mother's conduct and your lack of presence made that impossible." I leaned back in my chair and stared at the email until the words blurred. It was almost poetic. Even in chaos, they managed to make me the problem. I was nowhere near Vale. Yet somehow, the ghost they erased had become the scapegoat for the whole collapse. I felt the guilt rise, first hot and immediate, followed by anger, then something steadier clarity. The old version of me would have jumped on a plane, tried to mediate, tried to prove I was not who they said I was. But I remembered Daniel's voice from my first day here. Sometimes exclusion is an invitation to yourself. Maybe he was right. I opened my laptop thinking I would write a post explaining everything just to clear the air. I typed the first sentence. There are two sides to every story. Then stopped. What would that accomplish? They would twist my words, turn my honesty into ammunition. My silence had already spoken louder than any defense could. Instead, I closed the laptop, grabbed my sunglasses, and booked a sunset cruise leaving in 2 hours. When I stepped onto the boat, the sea breeze hit my face like absolution. The ocean glittered, endless and forgiving. I leaned against the railing glass of white wine in hand, watching the sun bleed into the water. For the first time, I was not afraid of what they would say about me. I was not anyone's safety net, anyone's excuse. I was simply someone who had stopped apologizing. If they need me that badly, I whispered to the wind, let them learn to fix what they broke. The waves swallowed my words without judgment, carrying them away into the horizon. By late afternoon, the heat softened into that slow California gold that made everything look cinematic. I sat beneath the shade of a cabana, the sound of the ocean steady as breathing. When my phone buzzed again, Jessica's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, half expecting another plea for help, but when I answered, her voice was low and fast urgent. "I need to tell you everything before they rewrite it." She did not waste time. "Your mom is the one who pushed to cut you from the list," she said. "She told the campaign people it was better to avoid you. She said something about not wanting more family controversy online after your article last year." I blinked. "My article? Yeah, the one about toxic family loyalty. She said it could resurface and make Hannah look bad." My stomach turned. So that was it. Not because there was not space, not because of budgets, because my honesty made their world look less shiny. Jessica kept going, voice trembling between disbelief and exhaustion. She told the groom's family, "You are unpredictable that you might bring drama." Hannah did not argue. She said she just wanted a perfect day. The words hit harder than I expected. Not the betrayal, but the simplicity of it. My mother's obsession with appearances had finally swallowed the one thing she claimed to protect our family. Jessica's voice broke through again, softer this time. Grandma lost it after the groom left. She stood up in front of everyone and said, "This happened because you disrespected your blood." Someone recorded it, Ethan. The clip is everywhere. People online are asking who the brother they excluded is. You are literally trending. I leaned back in my chair, half laughing, half numb. The irony was too perfect. They had erased me to preserve their image, and now the absence itself had become the headline. Runaway groom, missing brother. The Miller family story. I did not need to imagine the hashtags. I could hear the echo of them already. Jessica was not done. It is getting worse. The groom's mother is talking to reporters. She told them, "Your mom manipulated the guest list, tried to hide financial disputes about the venue." I shut my eyes, picturing my mother's carefully built facade cracking under every quote. "They are dragging your family's name through the mud," Jessica said. "And now guess what? Your mom wants you to fix it." She read aloud the message from the family group chat. "We need Ethan to make a statement clearing our name." My chest tightened. Even after everything, even after I had stayed silent, they still saw me as the one who could clean their mess. Or rather, the one who should. For a few seconds, all I heard was the ocean in my own heartbeat. "You still there?" Jessica asked. I nodded, even though she could not see. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I am here, and I am done. Done. Tell them I am done being their damage control." My voice was steady, calm, in a way that scared even me. "If the truth burns, the image let it burn." Jessica did not argue. She just exhaled, long and slow. "You know, I think that is the healthiest thing you have ever said." After we hung up, I sat in silence. The sun was sinking, painting the water orange and copper. My reflection rippled on its surface, blurred free, unrecognizable from the man who had once begged for a seat at his sister's wedding. I opened my laptop again, not to defend myself this time, but to release something that felt heavier than any secret. I typed a single sentence on my blog and hit publish. Sometimes the only way to save your family is to stop being the one who saves it. Within hours, the post spread beyond the travel community. People reposted it with captions like, "This hit too close to home." For the first time, my voice did not belong to them. It belonged to me. And somewhere between the fading sun and the rising notifications, I realized the storm I had been running from had already passed. All that was left was calm. Night had folded over Seabreeze Cove like velvet, the ocean stretched out in black silence. The only light came from the flicker of the lamp on my balcony and the faint glow of passing ships far out at sea. I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keys, and began typing. I am not angry anymore. I am exhausted. The words sat on the screen raw and heavy. They were not meant for anyone else to read. Not really. It was a letter I knew I would never send. For the first time in years, I was not angry. The fury had burned itself out, leaving behind something quieter, denser, a weariness that felt carved into my bones. I stared at the blinking cursor, and memories began to surface like debris after a storm. Every time Hannah made a mistake growing up, Mom would turn to me. "Be the bigger one, Ethan. She is sensitive." When Dad left, she said it again. "You are the man of the house now." I was 12. I did not know what that meant, but I learned quickly fixing things was not an option. It was my inheritance. Somewhere along the way, I stopped asking for help and started cleaning up messes that were not mine. Now, even as adults, nothing had changed. My mother's control had only evolved. What used to be guilt had become manipulation. What used to be love had become a performance. And me, I had become her reliable understudy, the one who never missed his cue. Until I finally did. A soft ping interrupted the quiet. A new email appeared at the top of my inbox. Subject comment request. Vale wedding story. The message was polite, professional, and hollow. "Mr. Miller, we are running a feature on the Vale wedding scandal. Would you like to share your perspective?" I stared at the screen, almost amused. The irony was cinematic. I had been cut out to protect their image, and now the press wanted me to complete the narrative. I deleted the email, opened my draft again, and typed one more line beneath my first, "I refuse to be your headline." The phone rang. It was almost midnight. "Mom." I let it ring twice before picking up. Her voice cracked with something that sounded like desperation, though it was still wrapped in command. "Please, Ethan, the press is killing us. Just say something kind. You owe this family that much." That sentence, "you owe this family," hit like a stone to the chest. I had spent 35 years paying that debt. I had given silence when they needed secrecy, forgiveness when they did not deserve it, and compliance when I wanted to scream. But this was the last draft I would ever let them edit. I took a slow breath and said quietly, "No, Mom. You owe me an apology." Then I hung up. My heart was steady, but my hands trembled slightly. It was not defiance. It was release. Moments later, a text from Jessica lit up the screen. "They are trying to leak that you are mentally unstable to justify cutting you out." I exhaled a dry laugh. Of course, if they could not control the story, they would rewrite it. I saved the message not as evidence, but as a reminder of how far I had come, how small I would have to become again if I went back. I called my Uncle Frank in Oregon, one of the few people who had ever seen through the family's facade. He listened quietly, then said, "Freedom costs peace at first, but it buys you the rest of your life." I did not answer. I just watched the ocean sway his words, settling into me like salt in water. When we hung up, I stared at the half-written letter on my laptop. I imagined Mom reading it, twisting every sentence into guilt. I imagined Hannah forwarding it to the family group chat, dissecting each line. The thought made me close the lid. I printed the letter, tore it in half, and dropped it into the trash bin. The ocean wind slipped through the balcony rails, scattering the torn pieces until they were gone. My silence was not weakness anymore. It was a boundary sharp and final. Outside, the wind grew stronger, pulling the curtains like a tide. It sounded like something ending and something beginning at the same time. Morning crept into Seabreeze Cove, soft and gold. The sea glowed like it had forgiven everything. I brewed a cup of coffee and sat by the window, the steam curling around my face as I reached for my phone for the first time in 2 days. The screen lit up with dozens of missed calls and unread messages. Mom Hannah 3, reporters the family lawyer. I scrolled without opening them until one subject line caught my eye. Vale wedding scandal groom's family speaks out. I tapped the link. The headline burned across the screen. Brutal, and clean. The groom's family confirmed that my mother and Hannah had pressured Ryan into signing an unfair prenup, and that the argument over it was what led him to walk out. They even released screenshots of emails proving it. Every word undid the image they had worked so hard to preserve. The truth was not elegant. It was messy and human and impossible to contain. They had built the entire wedding on control, and control had collapsed right under them. The same perfectionism that cut me out had eaten them alive. For a long moment I just sat there, the sound of the ocean filling the silence. Then came another voicemail. Hannah. This time her voice was softer, stripped of pride. I thought keeping everything perfect would make me happy. I was wrong. You were the only one who ever told me the truth. I listened once, then deleted it. There are apologies that need to stay unheard if you want peace to last. Mom called next, over and over. I watched her name flash on the screen. Mom then dim again. I did not feel anger or pity, just clarity. I had spent my whole life living inside her storm. Now it was finally quiet, and I was not about to walk back into the noise. I packed a light bag and walked down to the dock for the sunset cruise I had rebooked days ago. The evening air smelled of salt and orange peel. On deck, I raised my camera and took one last photo. The ocean glowing beneath the sky, my silhouette caught against the flare of dying light. I uploaded it to my blog with the caption, "They built a wedding without me. The universe let it fall apart without me too." The post spread quickly. People reposted it with words like boundaries, freedom, closure. Somehow strangers understood what my family never could. That peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the refusal to keep performing pain for people who profit from it. As the boat drifted farther from shore, I looked out across the water and whispered, "They taught me to love by enduring. Now I am learning to love by letting go." The sea answered with its rhythm steady and kind. I was not angry. I was not even sad. I was simply done carrying what was never mine. By the time we docked, the sky had turned indigo. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was not family. It was an editor from Open Sky magazine. They wanted to feature my blog piece in their next issue under the title, "The Freedom of Being Left Out." I smiled, not from pride, but from the quiet satisfaction of knowing that something good had finally grown out of the wreckage. Back in my room, I opened my journal and wrote the final line. 0 regrets. Then I set the pen down, stepped onto the balcony, and let the night breeze lift the last remnants of everything I had lost. The future stretched before me, unwritten, unedited mine at last. Sometimes walking away is not bitterness, it is survival. When you have spent years being the one who cleans up the mess, the silence that follows letting go can feel terrifying at first. But then it starts to sound like peace. I used to think family meant sacrificing yourself to keep everyone else comfortable. Now I know real love does not demand you shrink. It invites you to breathe and healing. It is not about proving who was right. It is about deciding your story does not have to end in the same place it broke. If this journey spoke to you, if you have ever had to distance yourself from people you still care about, just to remember who you are, then you understand what I mean. Maybe you are listening from a quiet apartment, or maybe the sound of waves is outside your own window tonight. Wherever you are, I hope you find the courage to choose peace even when it feels lonely. Before you go, tell me where you are watching from. Drop a simple hi, or share what moment in this story hit you the hardest. I read every comment. And if you believe that healing even from the people you love is an act of strength, hit subscribe. We have more stories like this about letting go, standing tall, and finally coming home to yourself. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for reminding me that even the quietest stories can still be heard.